All right, we got another guest co-host in the house. Jason, I know you gave me grief last time because I casually did not introduce our guest properly. So I formally present to you.
Thank you.
Senior columnist
Don't
from
ever
The
do that
Athletic,
again.
Jason Lloyd.
It's necessary, Jason. It's necessary.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, guys.
Of course.
Thank you for being had.
We are happy to have you here. There's only one downside to this, and that is going to fall on me. Jason and Jason, how am I supposed to,
I mean, we look so much
I was
alike.
about to say, it's very, yeah.
We can-
kind of like if you ask Grok to switch skin colors, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I'm dead.
if you really need a differentiation, my butt isn't as good and I don't look as good in a dress, but for 20 years, my nickname has been J-Lo.
I'm with that. Should we say Jago?
See,
No. The way you responded, that's enough. Jason, J-Lo, I like that. I'm with that.
I'm not calling this man J-Lo. I'm not about to call him J-Lo.
Call me White Jason.
What's happening with the robot umpire? I like things having some soul. I like us having conversations about how bad a job an umpire did or a call that was missed.
My memories of a bad umpire, like Angel Hernandez, or things I'd like to forget about.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I think it's just important to get it right.
Today we are talking about living up to the hype. And there's a lot of pressure in the sports world. When it's game time, everyone wants to come out on top and deliver a victory to their fans. So today we're going to talk about what happens when sports live up to the hype and when they don't.
Yeah.
Jason, what do you think living up to the hype means in sports?
Something that is memorable that you talk about the next day. Yep.
Facts. If it makes it to the water cooler,
Yeah.
I think that is a thing. And right now, water cooler conversation next mornings are about the Olympics.
Yeah.
They're one of the most hyped up events on the planet. So we want to know, has it lived up to expectations? We're actually going to have a live interview from Italy with senior writer from The Athletic, Lindsay Schnell, to get her take. Then we're asking the question, what's the hardest coaching job in all of sports? We're talking the NFL, college football, the Premier League. Even the legends can't survive. I mean, it's life or death over there. The Athletic did an exhaustive search, but we're going to get to decide if there were some glaring omissions. And then finally, baseball season's here, almost. And we're gonna preview the 2026 MLB season and we're gonna take a look at all of the hype. It sure seems like they've got a lot though.
Yeah.
Scandalous secrets, power struggles, Davids, Goliaths, even robots. Okay, y'all ready to do this, Jason?
Let's do it.
It seems like it was just yesterday that the Olympic torch was being lit. The opening ceremony was welcoming us into Milan and Cortina, and the sky was the limit for Team USA. But somehow, it's almost over. And while it may have flown by for us, it has been a long haul for the nearly 24 members of the Athletic newsroom that have been out in Milan and Cortina covering it all for us. And we've actually got one of those writers joining us today, Lindsay Schnell from right outside of Cortina. Welcome, Lindsay.
Hi, Zena. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I mean, we want to ask, how are you? You've been covering these sports, the sliding sports, for The Athletic. Normally you write about college sports, so this is a little bit of a different beat. How has it been for you switching over to this different topic?
It's been really fun. There are obviously a lot of differences between bobsled and basketball, and my dream was to find like a former Division II All-American who was now bobsledding. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to exist, but I'm going to hold out hope for 2030 and 2034. But there is quite a bit of crossover because bobsled and skeleton in particular are what are called talent transfer sports. Those are sports that people come to later in life. So if you look at the bobsled and skeleton team for Team USA, none of them really grew up doing it. You can't grow up doing bobsled. It's too dangerous of a sport. So they come to it later in life. A lot of them are track athletes. And so I've seen more crossover than you would think.
First of all, tell us what all the sliding events cover.
The 3 sliding sports that they do at the sliding track are bobsled, luge, and skeleton.
So give us a peek into what it's like to cover the Olympics.
So one thing that is really interesting about the Olympics that a lot of people don't realize, unless you're on the ground, is a lot of the athletes are really accessible. They're just walking through the city center. They're waiting for the bus where you are. The Jamaican bobsled team was walking through the city center the other day. And of course, everyone wants to get a picture with them and talk to them.
For you, who's lived up to not only the hype, but also who hasn't met those expectations that they came into with these Olympic Games?
So I think one thing you have to remember is that the Winter Games are very different from the Summer Games. Team USA dominates the Summer Games every single time. It's a little different feeling with the winter sports. There are sports that Team USA is very good at, but we have to talk about Lindsey Vonn. It is hard to describe the energy that was around the slope that day. I rode the shuttle up to the top of the mountain with a bunch of athletes from other countries who were going to watch her and talking about how excited they were to see her. She just inspired this energy. And then when she crashed, all that energy got sucked out the room. And then to see Alana Myers-Taylor, who is just one of those Olympic stories that everyone falls in love with. You know, this is her 5th Games. She's the most decorated bobsled athlete in the sport's history for a woman, but she never had a gold medal. She has this really interesting personal story. She has 2 little boys. They're both deaf. Her older one has Down syndrome, so she's parenting 2 special needs children. And she won the gold the other night, and that was incredible. And we got to watch her celebrate. And the first thing she did was she signed using American Sign Language to her boys, "Mommy won." And Kaylee Humphreys, also a mom, also medaled in that event. Sliding sport-wise, things are going well. I know in figure skating, it's been a different story in Milan for the Americans. And I think that just the Olympic pressure is very, very real, and there's nothing quite like it. We've had this conversation for years as someone who's covered a lot of track and field. People can win tons of world championships in track, and the American audience doesn't really care unless you show up at the Olympics. But when Michaela Schifrin won her slalom race the other day and won a gold medal, finally breaking this Olympic hex, she basically said, like, I know that this is what the American audience expects. This is what I signed up for. So athletes understand, and it's really incredible to watch how their lives can change in a second for the better. And it can be really heartbreaking to witness them have, what was it Amber Glenn said, you know, that she watched her dream get crushed to pieces or something like that. Like, it's hard to watch those things.
You know, Lindsay, events like hockey, figure skating, ski racing, they normally get a lot of the attention, a lot of the headlines. Sliding, not so much. Can you just tell us some of the cooler things that you've been able to report on and some of the cooler things that you've learned being over there?
Yeah, well, first of all, Frank Del Duca, one of the pilots for the bobsled men, he is a Army sergeant. He's in the Army, and his mission, his assignment, is to be stationed at Lake Placid and win gold medals for Team USA. That's a job in the Army. Who knew? We've all heard stories about the crazy things that athletes will do to fund their Olympic dream because most of these people are not making money. And so now the world-class athlete program that the Army has, and the Air Force has it too, like allows athletes to do both. And I'm really fascinated by that, to have that, like that level of patriotism within one person, both in representing your country as a member of the armed forces and when you put on the Team USA jersey. I wrote about a luge athlete who broke her neck in the 2018 games, broke her neck, and decided, I still want an Olympic medal, and came back. She was Emily Sweeney when she broke her neck. Her husband, Dominic Fischnaller, is a member of the Italian luge team. They actually live pretty close to Cortina. They built a house around here. So I asked her, I'm like, do you get to like sleep in your own bed? That's a great Olympic story, but she didn't. She was in the athlete village. So I think that all these stories, like, we all get caught up in them. They're all incredible. And we're all curious to know if they're going to be able to like live up to the pressure, or if they're going to succumb to it.
Do you think that these Olympics have lived up to the hype?
Yes. Zena, let me tell you something. Do you know what we all need to go to? Biathlon events.
Which is crazy. Do y'all know what the biathlon is?
No.
Please break it down, Lindsay.
These people could teach LSU guys how to tailgate. Like, it is insane. That's one thing that's really interesting about the Olympics in general, summer and winter. There are often sports that in the US are not a big deal, and they're huge in Europe. I mean, biathlon, which, you know, America is not good at, which is ironic because it's the sport with guns. They love it in Europe. It is a party.
It makes sense that the biathlon would have a party because of the ridiculousness of the sport. You are
Is that the
cross country, you are cross
Yes.
country skiing,
Yeah.
and then you get to a point where you pick up a gun and you shoot at a target.
Who comes up with this?
And then you have a standing target where you're shooting, and then you lay down
Yeah, no,
on your stomach and then shoot.
Yeah.
And
drinking and guns. Yeah, sounds like a party to me.
The biathlon fans were telling us they're the real Olympians. The athletes, they just have to go around track a couple times. The real fans are there partying for 10 to 12 hours. That takes real stamina.
Lindsay, thank you so much for finding the time within your coverage to come hang out with us. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Thank you.
All right, this next story got our attention and has sparked some debates. The Athletic asked a bunch of their reporters to write about what they believe is the hardest coaching job in the world. And we invited one of those writers to come hang out with us today and defend his choice. Zack Rosenblatt, welcome to our Say.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I'm so excited. So Zack, this article talks about all kinds of sports. We're talking teams with impatient fans, with eccentric owners, and also impatient owners, and storied histories. So tell us what coaching job you wrote about.
Yeah, it's the team I cover every day, the New York Jets.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I mean, they literally have a phrase to explain. It's called the same old Jets. And every single coach, when they come in, they're like, we're not the same old Jets. Stop saying that phrase. Stop saying it. And then they become the same old Jets. It's like inevitable. Like every coach thinks they're going to go to New York and be the one that's going to be like the hero. And I think that's how they get people to come there. Like if you're the one that gets us to the playoffs, everybody's going to love you. And it just doesn't happen. They leave broken men. They haven't been to the playoffs in 15 years. They have a very angry, impatient fan base. You have a meddling owner in Woody Johnson who kind of likes to interject when things aren't working. If you talk to any Jets fan and you ask them, like, why did you become a Jets fan? They talk about it as if they were like born with a disease or something. Like the flip side of that is like, as a reporter or a fan, if somebody's like, so who's your favorite team or who do you cover? The New York Jets. Oh, sorry. That's always
The sympathy.
I think the name New York Jets is just so much associated with like dysfunction and all that, but like it's just like impossible to overcome, or it feels that way for all these coaches they've brought in.
You do a terrific job covering them, but the one story that jumps out to me is the story you and Diana did last year about the Madden rankings. Because that to me just epitomizes the Jets.
They were talking about the idea of trading for Jerry Jeudy, the wide receiver who was on the Broncos at the time, former first-round pick. And Woody Johnson offered some skepticism because he thought his Madden rating wasn't high enough. And that's the one that blew up. If that doesn't explain like what coaches are walking into, like I don't know what this.
The Athletic did a reader poll asking which of these jobs was actually the hardest, and the results were just released. So let's take a look. The first three, all soccer teams: England, men's football, Man U, and Real Madrid. And then there you are, Zack, the lowly and lovable Jets.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to play a game, because you guys, you know.
That's all we
love
do is
it.
play
That's
games.
what we do. Zack, you down?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. So each of us is going to choose a coaching job that was not on the list, and we're going to pitch it to Zack and see who he crowns as the winner of the best, worst coaching job. You guys ready?
All right.
Jason squared?
Let's get it. Let's
Y'all
go.
ready? Okay.
Let's get it.
So I'm going to kick it off, and I'm going to go ahead and pitch the U.S. women's national basketball team. You have a dynasty to protect. If you win, no one cares. No one is worrying about the fact that you won. They want to know how much you won by. If you lose, you've ruined the dynasty, okay? Then you have the coaching decisions that you have to make. You have the best talent in the world that you have to comprise a roster of, and you might be leaving folks off. Did you see the uproar when Caitlin Clark was not chosen for the last team, right? The Olympics always happen in the middle of the WNBA season. You have about 2 weeks to prepare for this, while the entire world has been preparing for the last 4 years to go up against your superstars. To me, it is a tough job. Kara Lawson just got it. Gino Auriemma said that this job was going to be the end of him. Dawn Staley said it was the loneliest job in the world. Cheryl Reeve even also mentioned that this is a tough job. So I think that's my pitch for the U.S. women's national basketball team.
I'm going to go the other way. You're making the case of a really good team and a really good program and all the pressure that comes with it. I'm going to go with the redheaded stepchild of the New York Jets, and that is my Cleveland Browns. Being in Cleveland,
Okay.
this was kind of easy for me because they've had 42 quarterbacks since 1999. I don't even think the Jets can say that.
No, like,
42. Shador Sanders is the 42nd starting quarterback since the Browns came back to the league in 1999. Todd Monken is the 11th head coach. Since 1999, they've had 11 full-time. I'm not even counting the interim guys. They've had one playoff win. They've never been to Super Bowl. Never, ever, never in the history of the Super Bowl. All of their glory days were the 60s. We still have to hear about Otto Graham and Jim Brown of the 60s because they have done nothing since then. Like the Cleveland failures are known by their nicknames, the drive, the fumble, the shot in basketball. I mean, so that's how Cleveland, until the Cavs won the championship in 2016, it was nothing but pain and heartbreak and misery. Playoffs.
See, but that's why the bar is low, Judge
Oh, the
Zack.
bar is below the ground.
nobody's been able to get above it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's an unbelievable franchise.
For me, it would be Penn State, where you're a top tier college football program, but you're in that lower part of that top tier, maybe the high part of the second tier, where you're going to get great players, but you're going to have to, since joining the Big Ten, you're going to have to go up against an Ohio State and a Michigan. Right? Like Penn State every year is going to lose a couple of games and people are going to be upset about it. But it's so it traces so far back to the expectations of, Joe Paterno and that era of Penn State football where they won in 1986. Like it's been so long since they won a national championship. And on top of it, you're dealing with a history that you truly can't recognize. Right? With Jerry Sandusky and Joe Paterno and the fallout from that should have ended in the death penalty for that program. So I think a job like the Penn State Nittany Lions football program is one of those jobs where, they don't come available very often, and then you go in there and you never meet or live up to the expectations of a fan base, and sometimes those are unrealistic expectations.
Oof. Okay, these are some good pitches here. So Zach,
You know who to
which one of us gets the honor?
I came in here thinking I was going to pick the Browns because I feel a kinship because it's very similar. But honestly, the U.S. women's case really, I think, sold me on. I think because they're expected to win every game by a lot, and
They got the best players in the world.
Do you see how close France got? Came down to
I just
Gabby
think
Williams' three-point shot with her toe on the line. Breanna Stewart pointing out that line. That's what it came down to. Well, most of these people make a ton of money to coach professional athletes. We're not going to play our sad little violins for them.
Tiny
Okay.
violin.
But what could be done to make the lives of these coaches a little easier?
This is the life you chose, all right? Like, and there's nothing that's worth having that's not hard. It's the nature of the beast.
They know what they're signing up for.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Zach, for joining us. Thank you for keeping that New York Jets energy away and for agreeing with me, as always.
Of course.
For our main story today, we're talking baseball, baby. Lucky for us, we get to hang out with Derek VanRiper, host of our Rates and Barrels podcast. Welcome, DVR.
Thank you so much for having me.
We know that there's a lot to talk about. There's this labor dispute that's going on. We got the shocking resignation of the union leader, Tony Clark, and the even more shocking reason why. We're going to get into that. The invasion of the robot umps. Where do we start?
I think you have to start with the scandal. It's fresh. Tony Clark, who was the executive director of the Major League Baseball Players Association, resigned this week. And there was a federal investigation that started last fall into allegations of mishandling of finances. Things have snowballed. The resulting internal investigation revealed that Tony Clark was having an improper relationship with an MLBPA employee. We later found out that employee was actually his sister-in-law.
Yikes.
Now, do we know if this is
I know where you're going.
his wife's sister or his brother's wife?
We actually
That's
don't know, but it's
such a good
bad
question.
regardless.
But they hired someone new.
Yeah, they promoted Bruce Meyer, who was the lead negotiator at the last collective bargaining agreement that the owners and players came to. And Meyer is a classic labor lawyer. Typically, that's the type of person they put in this position. Tony Clark was the first player to hold the executive director role. So Bruce Meyer's not very well liked. The league doesn't like him because he opposes the league in the CBA, but even within the Players Association, he's a very divisive character.
They tried to throw him out a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he survived a mutiny attempt 2 years ago. So I think a lot of his promotion is trying to maintain cohesiveness with the collective bargaining agreement coming up at the end of this season. We're facing an almost certain lockout on December 1st. The owners are expected to lock out the players, and to begin those negotiations, you'd rather have somebody at the table who's very familiar with everything you want to accomplish.
Are we going to have a season even in 2027?
I'd be surprised if we didn't have a season. I think there's a larger ambition on the part of the league to consolidate local TV rights, to generate more consistent revenue in that area, because regional sports networks have crumbled. And as a result, that's hurting a lot of small market teams. So if you lose games, I think that's very bad for future rights holders. I think we're also in a point where the game is extremely healthy. You have a superstar loaded Dodgers team trying to three-peat this year. So let's get the product out there for a full 162 and make sure when the media rights deals come around, we can maximize revenue and kind of make it a win-win for everybody.
Is this something that would be negotiated? You talked about the labor union, you talked about the CBA. Like, break down some of the factors that are in discussion.
The biggest thing the owners want is a salary cap. Every time a CBA comes up, this is what the owners want. The players always oppose it because ultimately it takes money out of their pockets and shifts it to the owners. So we kind of understand the dynamic in play there. The way revenue is shared is definitely a part of the negotiations. And I think not only is the upcoming negotiation going to be important, but the one that follows a few years into the future is going to be important. And I think before we get to that point, that's when we might see a little more turnover in union leadership.
What should we be taking a look at on the field this year?
You know, exciting young players around the league, right? In Cincinnati, it's a guy like Ellie De La Cruz. We've seen him for a couple of seasons now, but he's a superstar. And he played through some injuries last year. You look at a place like Boston, everyone's talking about this team not having enough power. They have their own young superstar in Roman Anthony. Came up last year, he could be a high impact player. You got a team in Texas that quietly, won a World Series a couple of years ago and is still built to contend for a World Series. They have a possible young superstar in Wyatt Langford. So I think that's where, when I say health of the game, like everything looks really good.
So who won the offseason?
The Dodgers won the offseason.
They, of course.
They went
Kyle
out and got
Tucker.
the two players they needed. They needed bullpen help. They got the best reliever in Edwin Diaz. They needed an outfielder. They got Kyle Tucker. And that's just leveraging your chip stack really effectively.
Are there teams on your radar that it's time for them to do what they have been spending to do, or time for them to move on, or has a window closed somewhere in Major League Baseball that you're keeping an eye out on, that this might be the season where you might have to take it back to the drawing board? Like, who are those teams who are, it's time to poop or get off the pot?
I think Houston's run is coming to an end, and whether they've got one more playoff run with the likes of Altuve and Yordan Alvarez and some of the holdovers from that group, that remains to be seen. That's going to be really interesting. I think Seattle's improvement makes that a lot more difficult. I think the team that's actually had a quietly good offseason and they don't spend a lot of money is the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think they're having that realization that they need to spend more while they have Paul Skeens.
Right.
They have figured out pitching development in Pittsburgh. They've struggled to develop quality hitters. They went out and got some power. They traded for a guy from Tampa Bay, Brandon Lau. They signed Marcell Ozuna. Not necessarily the biggest names, but guys that actually papered over a weakness, and they've got the #1 prospect in baseball, Connor Griffin, who could be their opening day shortstop. So they're putting a lot of pieces together very quickly, and they could actually emerge as a wild card threat.
So I can't get anybody on the phone to help me with any of my customer service issues. There's no humans at the cashier spot and the checkouts anymore. Now the robots are coming seemingly, right? The robot umpires, we've been talking about this for a while. Where is this going to land? How is this going to play out? And I think we should actually see actual robots behind the plate. Like, I want something to be built out so that you could have a robot that's a nice robot. You could have an ornery, a Cowboy Joe West type of robot. You know what I'm saying? That kind of vibe. Make it fun.
I've never seen a fat robot.
Yeah, well, you just wait. If I'm programming it, we're going to represent. But what's happening with the robot umpires?
Well, so it's an automated balls and strikes system. So it's not the 6 foot tall, points awkwardly robot moving around behind the plate.
No Johnny Five action.
It'd be fun to see that, but we've seen this system in the minor leagues for a few years. Automated balls and strikes is a camera computer-based strike zone, and it's basically an easy system to build because you have challenges now on balls and strike calls. And home plate umpires are still going to call balls and strikes, but now players can actually challenge a call. So there's a borderline call. You get 2 challenges per game. If you're right, your team keeps those challenges, so you can keep challenging calls later. The interesting thing about it, only the hitter, the pitcher, and the catcher can initiate the challenge. They just have to tap their head to signal they want it. If they look towards the dugout and get any extra help, the umpire can actually deny the challenge. So I think ultimately it's going to be a strike zone that's pretty similar to what we're accustomed to because we still have a home plate umpire back there. The dimensions are slightly more hitter friendly. So I'm curious to see if we end up getting a little bit of an uptick in run production. Yeah, more offense this year. People tend to like that. Pitchers don't love it. Hitters do. So I'm very curious.
How do you feel about it? How do you? Because you know, I like things having some soul. I like us having conversations about how bad a job an umpire did or a call that was missed. Like, how do you think this is going to affect what has been from day one a sport where you can have these kind of conversations or have an Eric Gregg game or, you know what I mean? Like those type of memories might be wiped out when it comes to having the exact call being right every single time.
I think my memories of a bad umpire like Angel Hernandez are things I'd like to forget about.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
I think it's just important to get it right. I think when you see how it's actually used in stadium and on TV, it is exactly like the challenge system from tennis. And there's almost this little bit of tension as you see the signal for the challenge. You're waiting for it to pop up on the board. You get a little roar from the crowd if they get it right. Ultimately, I think transparency is good. I think the thing we've noticed on TV for years, the strike zone boxes are wrong. They're not the actual called strike zone. So I think those are actually going to go away as we know it. And that's ultimately better because we're just going to have a clearer understanding of what the true strike zone is, and we're going to get more calls right.
It's kind of insane that each umpire has his own strike. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
Either it's a ball or it's a strike.
It's so subjective.
It shouldn't be one with one umpire and another with another umpire. I'm an old school, I love baseball, and I'm an old school guy, but I think this is long overdue.
Doesn't this kind of take the character out?
I don't care. Get it right. Get the call.
I like, for instance, when we
like
watch,
the
when we watch
dramatic
basketball, I like a crew where I'm like, oh, they're not calling that stuff tonight. Like,
Yeah.
It's a physical
Right,
thing.
yeah.
Like if I know if it's a letter high strike, well, oh, okay, now you guys gonna have to swing tonight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but I understand. You know, old fogies like myself are getting moved out, and it's time for the computers and the robots to take over.
Well, like, again, like I'm a traditionalist on baseball, but I love the pitch clock. I think it's great. They just
Speeds everything up. That's
all they
true.
did was cut. And at first I was like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
And then when you see it in play, I'm like, all they did was cut out the fat.
You know what I think it is too? Baseball has been a sport that has long been hesitant to implement new rules, and now it seems like these changes are coming fast and furious as they try to keep up with the new consumer. And I'm just scared of AI in general.
Well, AI is going to kill us all.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like,
But this is balls and strikes.
This is a safe application of AI. I'm a skeptic too.
So
on that
far.
point, are there other applications of AI we should be looking out for in baseball?
I think it would be more internal in player evaluation, trying to look at injuries and recovery and some different things like that on the back end. Hopefully keeping players on the field and keeping them healthier more often. That to me would be a positive application that might be happening more behind the scenes.
Simulation.
Passing drug tests.
That's true.
On that note, as a Cavs fan, thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, DVR, for helping us get ready for baseball.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. Warm-ups are over. It's time to see what you're really made of.
Gotta lock in.
And hey, no pressure, all right? No pressure, Jay. This is supposed to feel good because it's time for LFG. Learn it feels good. All right, you know how it works. I drop a number. You match it to the right answer. Simple, right?
All right.
All right, you ready?
I guess.
All right, let's do it. Let's
go.
Let's go. The number is 48. Is it A, the number of seconds it took before Ronda Rousey lost her last UFC fight 10 years before announcing her return to MMA? Remember Holly Holm, face stomping. B, the age of Austrian snowboarder Claudia Riegler, making her the oldest female athlete to ever compete at a Winter Olympics.
Oh.
C, the number of social media posts made by the handle Get Off My Dickerson.
Oh.
Created by Many to Be NBA star Kevin Durant's latest burner account. Shout out to Get Off My Dickerson. Is it D, the number of seconds Nazgul, a Czechoslovakian wolf dog, edged out the 8th place finisher in an Olympic cross-country ski race after the pooch escaped his doghouse at a nearby bed and breakfast? Running for glory. So A, B, C, or D.
Okay,
48 is the number.
I feel like it's definitely not C, because if we saw 48 posts by Get Off My Dickerson, this would be way harder for Kevin Durant to just be like, my boys, we locked in. So blah. No.
I'm going to guess because it's Olympic season and Ronda Rousey is pretty
Random.
Yeah, random.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with B.
Because I love dogs, I'm gonna go with D.
Okay.
The answer is A.
What?
Everyone's wrong. You heard that correct.
Wow.
Big news.
Wow.
That's on you for not believing in Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano will fight May 16th at the Intuit Dome in LA.
I had no idea she was making a
I had
comeback.
no idea. either.
Billion Build is the biggest
See, our
fight
algorithm
in women's
is wrong.
combat
See?
sports history. Exactly, Aaron. You got
Wow.
that. As the fight itself likely won't showcase modern MMA skills, giving both fighters ring rust, right? But Rousey enters as favorite, and the real victory, just getting these two legends back in the cage. And a question for the group: which sports legend has made the biggest or best comeback in your opinion? All time.
Best comeback.
For me, it might be Simone Biles coming back from having the twisties in the 2020 Olympics. Everyone basically saying, like, you gave up on your country while she was prioritizing her mental health.
They were wrong.
And then she comes back with her goat necklace.
Michael coming out of retirement, going to play minor league baseball for a little bit of time, and then come back and to win 3 more championships after retiring.
Yeah, I'd throw George Foreman in there, you know, after retiring for all those years and coming back and winning the heavyweight championship of the world and then getting all those grills off. It kind of zapped all the soul out the chicken. You know what I mean?
You were making the wrong things. I was making grilled cheeses and things like
you're right,
that.
you're
yeah.
right. Or, you know, every year, LeBron's hair.
On that note, thank you, Zack Rosenblatt, Lindsay Schnell, and Derek VanRiper for coming down, talking to us a little bit about baseball, the Olympics, and of course, the hardest coaching job in the world, which remember, I won.
Whatever.
Okay, all right. We appreciate you filling in for Robert Mays. Jason Lloyd, you did a great job.
Thank you for having me. It's
There
fun.
you go. And remember, you can find new episodes of The Athletic Show early every Saturday on Fire TV, and then head on over to theathletic.com for more of the world's best sports journalism. See y'all next time.